All right, good morning. Welcome to day 4. We are on FOMC day, meaning this is the US interest rate announcement this evening at either 7:30 or 8:30 p.m. UK, which historically has not been a particularly great day for day trading. In a minute, I'm going to go through all the charts from the meetings so far this year to see how the price actions behaved on those days. But this is where we are today. We're within yesterday's range, unsurprisingly, but we are sort of hanging around the highs of last week. We've actually just tested here in the pre-market. We've just tested last week's highs, and some buyers have come in there. So I think the ideal scenario today would be that we can hold last week's highs and make a little push higher and find some trades there. But it's all quite congested. This is a good day to not lose, really. This is where we are at currently on the account. 3 sessions in, we're up £400. And considering the market conditions, we've done pretty damn well. The important bit of all this is we've only taken one loss, and it was only a £93 loss. So we've not really we've not taken a full loss yet in these first 3 sessions, and that's been the key thing, because there's not been a whole lot of opportunities. We've only had 2 trades that have been really meaningful profits. These sort of weeks are the sort of weeks where I can lose money, and it not be such a terrible thing, because there's going to be plenty of weeks throughout the year and months throughout the year, as there has been in the last couple of months, where there's constant opportunities day in, day out. So really, this is just a good day and a good week to not lose money. If I can come out of this not losing, then great. If I still hit my targets, then that's fantastic. My targets are 2R per week. So this column here, essentially we want to add 2 every week, and if we do that, that'll be about 100% per year. So we're currently bang on target, looking quite good. So what I want to do is go through this year so far, all of the different FOMC meeting days, and see how the DAX has behaved. So I screenshot and collect data for every day, and I've just gone through my PowerPoints, and I've taken out the days where we had the Fed announcements. So first of all, going back to March, it was actually a decent session. I think what I've got from briefly looking at these is that we might end up moving out of the overnight range, but we're not likely to find much of a trend. So there might be trades, but we are not going to be looking to hold them for very long, because there's a lot of reversals. So this was a day where we opened here, we'd sold off in the pre-market, and then basically we just found our way back to the overnight range. This on the 5th of May, again, sort of we found our way out, and then we found our way back in. Nothing too exciting. This is again in a similar situation. We broke out a little bit, but then we sold off back into the range. 30th of July, again, we sold off, moved back into the range. 17th September, we came out, we sold off back into the range. So you're seeing a real pattern going on here. So I think essentially, if we do break out and we do get a long way away from the overnight range, we need to be extremely cautious. And it may be a good day to trade some sort of mean reversion, meaning betting that the market is going to return to where it was overnight, might not be a bad play. And then the last meeting, which I'll show you on the actual chart itself, was on the 29th of October. And this was a real dead session. To be honest, one of very few dead sessions in that period of the year, to be honest. And you can see what happens when the Fed actually makes its announcement. So this is it here at 6:30 UK. So the Fed, this is when the press conference happens. And nothing shocking happened here. This is just what the market does, because there's so many orders, big institutions that are placing orders based off of the decision. And that's essentially what the market's waiting for. That is essentially what the market's waiting for. So anyway, the market today has now opened, and we are sitting around the top of the overnight range, and we've tested here the prior week high, which has held momentarily, but this is not going to be a day where we rush into the market. We'll see what happens to the average true range. Let's see what the average true range was yesterday, because yesterday was definitely better than Monday, but still not the level of volatility that we really want to see. Where were we yesterday? So yesterday we were up around 10. Yeah, the average true range was somewhere between 9 to 11. So we'll see what happens today. Currently we're down at 6. Really, the higher that number, the higher the volatility, and within reason, the better it is for us as day traders. So this may be a bit of a quiet one again, but that's just part of the job. All right. So I think what we're looking for this morning is either the market to come down and test somewhere down here near the low of the overnight range, which may give us an opportunity to trade a mean reversion back up, or we're looking for a very cautious breakout long. But I think more likely today you're looking at some sort of reversal trade, which is the exact opposite of what we've done the first 3 days. But really, if the market doesn't give me anything enticing, I'm not going to be trading, because I'm not worried about having a day where I don't trade, especially when I'm already up on the week and looking pretty good. We are really selling off here off the open. Just want to look back to yesterday. So the lows of yesterday was down here, and that was right at 8 o'clock. But then at the start of the US session, we made a low 24.95. Just wonder if that could be some sort of support level this morning. Okay, so for our mean reversion, what we'd look for is for the market to get to a point of overextension, which is entirely subjective. And then we want it to try to reverse back into the range, and then see a failed retest to break out below. That's what we'd be looking for. Looks like the market isn't going to go all the way down there. What we have had is a prior bar low on the 5-minute chart. So you see the first 5-minute bar here was negative. The price just touches down below, and then buyers have stepped in immediately below the low. I think that's the sort of day we're looking at. Be interesting to see when we make it back up here. Are we going to sell back down, or are we actually going to make a rally up? For the moment, there's some pretty good strength. Volatility's coming in. Average true range pushing up to 10. Wow, that is this is a good sign. Market's just moved 60 points in a matter of about 2.5 minutes. So we've just got closing price. Interesting. Just getting my charts set up on TD365. Okay, so we've filled the gap. Filling the gap is where the price meets back at where the DAX index itself closed yesterday. And we filled the gap, and we've currently had some selling come in. So it'll be interesting to see here if we can push higher, or if we're just going to retreat back once again into the overnight range. So that 5-minute prior bar low that we saw is the sort of trade in future I could make. Currently, I'm just trying to get really good at trading the system that I'm trading, but that is the sort of trade that I watched Tom Hugard make time and time again earlier this year. But for now, essentially all I need is one way of making money. I don't need 5 different ways of making money. So again, we've just come up here to say hello to yesterday's close. Be very interesting to see what happens now. Interesting. Okay, I see this as a breakout here. I see this as a breakout. I think what I'd like to see is a retest of this previous day close. And then I think we can be long. But I need to see, I guess, some persistent strength, because this is a day where false breakouts are a real danger. And you can see here that there's definitely a little bit of selling pressure coming in. What I don't want is to take an early trade, take a loss and be done, because I'm certainly not going to take more than one loss today. If we do take a trade and we lose, I'll be done for the day. There's no way I'm risking giving away all my profits from the last couple of days back to the market on that FOMC day. That would just be stupid. Okay. So looking at the 5 minute here on the left, you got big red, big green, and now we look like we may be forming a big red again. So we have prior bar low, buyers coming, prior bar high, sellers come in. Now if this pattern persists, then I'd be looking to definitely trade a reversal. So we're looking to test here the prior week high and buys have come in. Could see this as a breakout retest opportunity. Okay, I'm long the DAX. On a breakout retest of yesterday's close. Sorry, the prior week high. I'm just going to go back to my screen, but just you can see that I'm in the position. Actually, you know what? I can hold there. The idea here is that we're going to hold these lows and we're going to try and test some highs. Now, of course, I could be wrong, as always. But to me, I like the price action. I'm really looking more at a 5-minute chart here than I am anything else. Okay, I'm taking half because we're at the previous day close. Stop loss to break even. Taking half again. Moving stop loss up in my final little piece. Okay, taking profit. This could move higher, but that'll be a separate trade. Okay. I don't know how much I've made there. I don't think it's that much. But that's not really the point of that trade. It's far more about technique. Oh, Jesus. What are we doing? Okay. Let's just have a look how much that trade was. Oh, wow. Actually, more than I thought. So that was £120. Nice. Nice. I did not think it was that much. I thought it was going to be £80. So there's the transaction history there, 52, 28, 39. So 120 quid in a market like this, I would consider that some pretty damn good trading. Now £120 is a completely arbitrary, irrelevant number, because hopefully in 4 or 5 years time, you can 10x, 15x that number, so what's £100 now is £1,000 or £2,000 in a couple of years. So it's far more about technique than anything else. But let's just go into that trade in a bit more detail. I think that actually might be my best trade yet since I've been streaming. So if we look at the 5-minute chart here, I'm just going to get rid of some of these lines that we don't really need. And I'm just going to, right, okay. So what I was seeing here essentially was this prior week high as a potential support level. So we sold off, which happens because support and resistance is sort of irrelevant when the market first opens, just because there's so much activity. The market's then really strong, making a high. Sellers come in, but they're blocked. They're blocked here by this support. And then on this next 5-minute bar, we come back down, but we don't even fully touch it. If you see, if I really zoom in, we don't actually touch. So the wick of that 5-minute bar doesn't actually touch, which is another little sign of strength. So I then enter through the 1-minute chart, closing here at the highs. We push down, but we come up, and I went long here and took profit around the previous day close to the top, because as we've already discussed this morning, this is a likely mean reversion session. So breakout trades need to be quick and accurate. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So now I'm basically just going to sit back, relax, probably not trading in today, because making any sort of money in this market is an achievement. So what happens now? Well, we've got a clear consolidation area on the 1 minute. So, typically I would be looking at this consolidation here. I'd be looking at a breakout retest to the long side, but we're only about 15-20 points off of yesterday's high, which is here. And I certainly wouldn't be holding it through that high. So I think what I'm looking for is to just let the market come up here if it wants to, and then either trade a mean reversion back down or wait for a breakout retest of this major high here. But anything for me now in this area is just noise and bullshit. I don't want any part of. Okay. So we're now £520 up on the account. The next interesting thing this morning is going to be school run, which is this second 15-minute bar here. So according to to Tom's rules, we'd either be long above, which you may not do that today given the market conditions. You'd certainly be long below because we're within the overnight range, prior bar low opportunity, at support as well. So I'm not going to take that, but that would be a valid setup if we get it. The market's really selling off now, but potentially a prior bar low school run here. Not sure what you'd do above. That would be really up to your own discretion, but will be interesting to see what happens today and if that idea would work out. So we're again coming down here to test the prior week high. So I was right about it being support. And this is why it's so important to not just turn up and start trading when the market opens. You've got to do the work beforehand. Because if I wasn't aware of these key levels, I really would not stand a chance, because I would have no idea why the price is doing what it's doing. It's very clearly now formed a range between Friday's high and yesterday's close. It's clear as day, exactly the levels that I've marked out. So yeah, we're going to be interested in trading again if we can make a push above yesterday's high, or if we can come back down to the lows of the session, because then that could provide a mean reversion opportunity. But I'm only going to give it till 8:45. So if neither of those things have happened by 8:45, I will be done for the day. But I always like to see what happens at school run. Well, that presentation did its job. That certainly gave us some insight. It's funny, that last trade that I just made was trading £10 a point. The first trade I made this year was with 0.4 pounds per point. That's quite an increase in size. That's 25 times the trading size to what I started with in January. That's both because I'm risking a lot more money now, but also because at the start of the year I was trading with huge stop losses because I was really just trading the 15-minute chart. So I was trading with 50, 60, sometimes up to like 100-point stop losses. So no wonder I didn't make any money. A little bit of interesting price action. here. We've just tested. So what was support in the prior week high is now starting to potentially act as resistance. See, there's a very, very clear reaction here to this prior week high. So we just traded. We just made our money based off of, trading the support. You could also make a trade here, the exact same, just in the opposite direction. You could argue that this is now a breakout retest short. I don't want to do that now because we're within the overnight range. So the directional movement is less, I'm just less confident in it. Whereas up here, we were with the prevailing trend and we were above the overnight range. So it's just a higher probability trade, but this would be a completely valid setup if you wanted to. So we've also now got our school run long down here on a prior bar low. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. This could also be a short, depending on your opinion. But the consensus so far this year has been when you're within the overnight range, you want to be long below and short above. But I wouldn't be surprised if we come back down here to retest first. And I am potentially looking at trading a mean reversion shortly. But what I want to see is a push down here. I'd then like to see the market try and snap back up before a further move down, and then buy the second attempt, if you like. One of the reasons I am not taking this school run trade here is just because it's hard to place stop loss. If you're going to trade along here, you've got to place your stop loss all the way below the low of the day at least, if not all the way below the low of the overnight range. And that's really, for me, the biggest flaw. Is stop losses just have to be so big. So buyers clearly came in there below the prior bar low. We'll see if that can be sustained or if sellers are just going to come back and push the market lower. If I do make a trade again in a minute, that will be my final trade of the day. Oof. Okay. So we're coming down to the lows of the day. Also, don't need to be aware that further down, we've got the low of the US session yesterday. We've got the low of the overnight range. We've got the low of the day yesterday. So you've got multiple levels that the market could come and find. So we don't want to be too aggressive buying at the low of the current session, because ultimately that might not be the level that the market wants to test. So we've literally it's a perfect double bottom right now. So let's say the market does move up here. We're going to let it move up. We're not going to trade it. But then we want to see some sort of attempt to push it back. But we want to see that attempt fail. That's what we want to see. If you were more aggressive, you would just buy right here. But again, my problem with that is, well, I'm buying the market when it's falling, which I don't like to do. And where do I put my stop loss? Well, it's got to be all the way down here. Okay, we're at a new low for the day. Again, though, this could just be a prior bar low buying opportunity for some people. If this was happening on a normal day and this was happening below the overnight range, this would be a great time to look at getting short. But that's why context is so important, because where one day the price action makes you want to short, another day it makes you want to go long, just depending on where the price is relative to where it was. Okay, so the session low wasn't a sufficient support level. We'll now see if the US session low or the overnight range low can be where the market finds support. And we could also get a downtrend, just because we haven't trended down on FOMC days so far this year doesn't mean we're not going to. I just don't want to bet on it, because I feel like betting on a downtrend when we've not seen a downtrend all year on this sort of day would be a bit of a stupid bet. So now we've touched the US session low, which you can see is over here. So 230 yesterday, which is when the US markets open, can act as support. Now we get the overnight range. And if it breaks through this, then we're looking at the low of yesterday. And then if it breaks through that, I think we're undeniably in a downtrend. But I'm not going to be trading that today. Okay, so we've had a little bit of a reaction here at the overnight range. So this is, if we make a higher high, which we have, so there's definitely been a reaction. We don't want to trade this initial reaction. I'd like to see some sort of green candle, but then I want to see some sort of push down and then that second push fail. Now, I've only traded this method a handful of times, so I'm going to be extra cautious about it. And if I end up missing it, then so be it. What the price has done is it's just come up to test this low here. I think if we can make a higher high and close above this low, then I think we're looking highly likely that we're going to end up seeing a push back up. If I do take this trade, my target will be the prior week high, as that's already proven to be pretty good support and resistance. So you could argue now we've had a push up and now this is our attempt to push back. And if this one fails, we could be long. Stop loss. Stop loss would go below. If we were to enter after this bar, stop loss would be down here around 92. Okay, now if you're confident and aggressive, you could go long now. I'm not confident or aggressive, so I'm not going to be doing that. So now the US session low, quite clearly acting as support. Now, I really don't want to buy here when this is just consolidation before a move lower. That's what I'm sort of scared of. Really don't want to get suckered into giving all my profits back. Really, really don't want that. Oh. Well, there's undoubtedly buyers really working hard here to stop the market falling any further. In the past, I would have undoubtedly bought up here on the close of this candle and would have already been stopped out. You know, this is how easy it is to lose and how hard it is to win. You know, you can just take so many losses so damn fast. It really is incredible how easy the market can just take your money. Honestly, it's shockingly easy for the market to take your money. Okay, this is looking like this could be our long. Stand by. Okay, I am long the DAX. Bear with me. So the theory here is that we've made a low. It may take a moment to get going, but the theory is that we've made a low and it's going to be support. And we're going to move back to the prior week high before we move any lower. Looking at the price action, I quite like this trade. Will it work? Who knows? But I think given what we've seen from prior FOMC days, this is it's a worthy entry, although it's not looking great right now. Now, that little wick there, that's another little positive sign. Come on, market. Get going, get going. Not looking good. Not looking good at all now. I think this is gone. Ah, man. Okay. Interesting. So now we've got a breakout short. Interesting. Okay. So we're now down at the previous day low. Wow, we have just blasted through. Very interesting. Very interesting. Wow, that is aggressive. Unexpected. Okay. So I think we're undeniably in a downtrend. And I just need to see the market for what it is. Now, this is a clear consolidation now. Clear consolidation before a breakout. If the market can retest this level, then that would be a classic breakout retest short. And that is now what I'm going to be looking for. So we're about break even now for the morning. I can tell you exactly in a second. We're about £10 in the red. So hardly significant damage. Okay, so stand by for a possible breakout retest here. So we want to see it hit this level here and then fall down. Here's our retest. So in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking potentially this was now the low of the day. And essentially we were just one move too soon to go long, in which case it's just the nature of the game. You know, can't get annoyed or upset about it. It's just how it is. But I'm just purely going to follow the price action, follow my rules, and let it take me wherever it wants to take me. Sorry, my mic cut out there. I'm short the DAX. I'm just going to manage it properly through here. But I am short. We just want to see a little explosion short, and then we're looking good. Taking half. Taking half profit, stops at break even. We're now going to target the low. Taking another half. Okay, I'm out. Again, this could head lower, but as we saw earlier, when I took profit on my first position, it's good to get out with a profit. Okay, what was that trade? That was a better trade. That was 165, which is a really nice trade. Really, really nice. So we got a initial profit of 117, then £135 loss, and then a 100 and whatever I just said, 167 £167. So we're up £151 for the morning, and that is going to be me done, because I could easily give all that back again, and I don't really fancy that. This absolutely could head lower, but I just simply don't know today. And for me, getting out with £150 profit is too good of an outcome on a day like this to pass it up. That also means we've hit our weekly target, because we're now 340-ish up for the week since Monday. And our weekly target is approximately £300 a week, because that's 2 times my general average risk per trade. Now, what's going to happen the rest of the session? I have no idea. Based off of past trading sessions on FOMC days, as we saw at the beginning of the day, you would expect the market to find its way back into the range eventually. How the market needs to go before it does that is anyone's guess, and I think that was maybe the mistake I made with trading that mean reversion. But I mean, nothing gained, nothing lost since that first. Actually, we've made money since that first trade. We've made money. So I mean, this could potentially be it now. This could be the turn, but we're in a downtrend now, and I'm not going to fight that downtrend. This is one of the things with trading, is it's so damn fun, but I need to have the discipline to stop, essentially. Thing is, I do feel, I'm not going to take it. I am finished now, but it does feel like there is some sort of big mean reversion trade to take today at some point. We'll see. Tomorrow morning, we'll come back on and we'll see what happened. But I think the market's going to head back up. I think the market's headed back up here this morning. I really do. I really do. But there we go. We'll see. We'll see. And then next time, next FOMC in January or whenever it is, maybe we'll do it then. So thank you for watching. And I will be back tomorrow to hopefully have another good session. That's 4 positive sessions out of 4 so far.